Ahoy VC, welcome to the Personal Oasis. This is the Blind Island. I'm your host, Isaac, and today I'm going to be going through the July vinyl finds. I know that I said I was going to be holding restraint and just handing off, doing an exchange over how much I usually spend and doing it for a contest. And the contest is still a go, but I did not restrain myself. Speaking of the contest, today was the final day to enter. Everything is good up until midnight, but I am going to go through the entries tomorrow and comment on each one. So if you don't see a comment on your entry, just let me know, and I'll make sure that you are entered in. I'm going to be announcing the winner on Monday, and I look forward to doing that. It's been really fun seeing all of the response, and just thank you guys for supporting the channel. Started off at 217 subscribers and moved up to 260. It's pretty amazing. The channel keeps growing, and I thank you guys a lot for that. So let's get into the vinyl finds that I had this month. So getting started, we have The Ventures, Super Psychedelics. Now this is a record that is not very well talked about in The Ventures discography, where they were diving a little bit more into the psychedelic nature of music around 1967. Lots of covers on here, but the treasures to be found are the originals done by The Ventures, especially the song Vibrations. It's a really fun, psychedelic, instrumental piece. It's definitely not your normal Venture fare, but if you want to seek it out, it's definitely worth picking up. Then we have an album I've been looking for forever at a decent price. Finally found it. Nancy and Lee, one of the greatest duos ever to hit vinyl. Nancy Sinatra and Lee Hazelwood. It's just so beautiful. I know that everyone usually comes here for the big hits, but to me the song Sands really hits a wonderful note, especially with the psychedelic interlude that goes on there. It's just a wonderful record and really, really great stuff. Featured recently on the Vinyl Guru video, and reminded me how desperately I needed it. So great record. Super happy to have it. Then I found this amazing slab of early 70s hard rock, Trapeze, Medusa. Found this for $2 at an antique mall, and man, what this album just slaps. It's so good. I've listened to this a couple of times, but I was usually sitting around like $15–20, but I couldn't say no for $2. Excellent pickup. Then moving on to Freddie Hubbard, Keep Your Soul Together. The last album from Freddie Hubbard on the CTI label, and I'd say this is just as good as anything that he was releasing around the time that people usually talk a lot about Red Clay, Straight Life, and a little bit of Love Goes to First Light, but this is just as good as First Light. I wouldn't say it reaches the heights of Red Clay or Straight Life, but it comes pretty darn close. Wonderful slice of jazz funk fusion. Great record. Super happy to have that. Then I have Straight Up by Harold Vick. Harold Vick, a saxophone player that kind of has gone under the wayside. He is definitely not a big star in the jazz circles, but man, if you listen to this, you would be hard-pressed to figure out why he isn't. He's blowing some real heat on this record, and look at that cover. It's fantastic. A wonderful piece of music, and it's becoming a little harder to find this record in good shape, and I found this one for $5. Very happy to have it. Then we have Lonnie Smith Silhouettes, another antique mall find for $3, and I think that I paid the right price for it. It's not going to be hitting my table a lot, but it's just some nice 80s smooth funk jazz, a little too smooth for my ears. I definitely was taking more of a risk on this one. Some risks pay off, some don't, and this one kind of lands on the don't. I'll listen to it a few times, but it's probably not going to be the one that I'm suggesting for most people. But Lonnie Smith is always great, and he always has something to listen to, and that's no different than in this record. Then I picked up a copy of Venture's Walk, Don't Run, an original mono copy for $4, and it's in very good condition. These records are getting harder and harder to find in decent shape, and very happy to have it in the collection. And I love that album cover. I mean, one could even argue that this was where the surf sound was born, and you'd be hard-pressed to beat that argument. Another record found at an antique mall for $3, Bob Dylan, Street Legal. Definitely not my favorite Dylan record. It is a little bit on the sparser side as far as like the great songs. The production is a lot more bombastic, but it's almost sludgy, and he's surrounded by a lot of female vocalists on this album, and it's definitely not my favorite, but it's Dylan, and I'm looking to complete his discography, so glad to have it regardless. Now this one, very happy to find Joe Farrell, Upon This Rock, excellent CTI release, amazing jazz funk fusion, and if you have heard Upon This Rock, you've probably heard the breakbeat for 1,000 hip-hop songs, especially in the early 80s. Incredible beats on this album, and just wonderful playing by every single person on this record. Lovely, lovely album. Very happy to have this in the collection. Another $3 find, Demiola, John McLaughlin, and Paco de Lucia at Friday Night Live in San Francisco. Such an amazing acoustic jazz album. Bringing the heat, these three guitars. It is a whirlwind and flurry of notes, transcending and transfixing your ears the entire time. Great, great record. Totally recommended, and usually can be found for a very decent price. Another record I was super happy to find, Vinyl Me Please recently came out with a reissue of this late last year, and it's getting harder to find. It's Dave Brubeck Quartet's Jazz Impressions of Japan. This is an original mono copy, and it's getting harder to find these mono copies. Excellent jazz album, and very, very happy to have this one in the collection. I'm going to include a little snippet of what this sounds like so that you can hear what is grabbing so many people about this particular Dave Brubeck album. Another incredible find with John Fahey's America, original copy, and one that is in great, great shape. Usually you don't find copies anymore that have the original booklet still included with it, without it being ripped out or ripped apart. Absolutely wonderful, wonderful stuff. This is my second favorite John Fahey album, and I'm just so happy to have this in the collection. Found it for $10, and just for the shape that's in, I can't believe that I was able to find it for that price. Excellent, excellent traditional American primitive folk music, and if you haven't listened to John Fahey, this is a great place to start. Wonderful, wonderful record. Then I have Ohio Players Ecstasy on the Westbound label. Before they went over to Mercury and started making all their hits, they had some of these incredible tight funk albums for Westbound with these very provocative covers, which didn't change once they went to Mercury, but definitely the S&M vibe got a little less, and man, it really hits hard. It slaps. Great album. This was really cool to find. Hard to find these in decent shape at all because kids wrecked them. This is the Sensational Guitars of Dan and Dale, Batman and Robin. Little known fact, this album is actually members of the Sun Ra Orchestra with the man himself on the keys with members of the Climax Blues Band. Incredible album. It sounds like Booker T and the MGs did the Batman album. I'm going to include a little snippet of the music so you can get a taste of what it sounds like. Now we get into the really big heavy hitters of this month, and this was a huge find. An original mono copy of Elvis Presley's self-titled debut album in good shape, plays great. The cover does not have a single split or issue really with it, other than a little tape right up here, and this one usually goes in the shape that it's in for about $50–60, and I'm just so happy that this one is in the collection. Found it for $5, and just a great album, wonderful stuff by the king of rock and roll himself. Don't have a lot of Elvis, but this is one that every collector really should have. And another album I was so happy to find. This was a complete blind buy, but has turned out to be one of my favorite albums that I've found recently, and it's Tom Griffin Winslow, Inner Octaves. This was on a very small private press, and by a record label called Truth Records, and it sounds like a mix of Mississippi John Hurt with Doc Watson. Wonderful folk music, and really hits all the right notes correctly. I'm going to include a little snippet of the music so you can hear everything that I am hearing on this incredible album. Very rare, and it's also signed by the artist in the corner. Here's a little snippet for you. I picked it way up in Maine. Someday I'm gonna pick it. And finally, I have a really cool album to round us off, MC5's High Time. Getting harder and harder to find these as well in good shape, and this one is in very nice shape indeed. Other than the little slit right here, the sleeve is in great shape, the vinyl plays great, and it's, I know that a lot of people give MC5's first album, their live album, the edge, but to me, as far as their studio work, this is as good as they ever were, and really great stuff. Love this album, and very happy to have it in the collection. So guys, what did you think of the July finds? Were there some things in here that you would like in your own collection? Let me know in the comments below, and I look forward to letting you know the results of the contest here in the next coming days. I hope that you have a great day on your own personal oasis. Cheers.